The soft click of the deadbolt, and I knew Annalise was home without even looking up. I'm back, God, I'm exhausted. The sharp clack of heels on the hardwood floor sounded twice before a more casual thump told me she'd kicked them off. Already fed up, I put down my drawing tablet and swiveled away from my computer, arms outstretched. A split second later, a wave of her familiar perfume enveloped me as she collapsed into my embrace. Recharge me, Annalise mumbled into my chest, her voice tinged with a playful pout. I chuckled, wrapping my arms around her soft waist, inhaling the scent of her hair. It was hard to believe this woman currently melting against me was the same ice queen of Apex Capital who gave seasoned executives a run for their money. Just then, my phone buzzed, a truly unwelcome interruption. 2 words flashed on the screen, Marcus Schmidt. Before I could say anything, Annalise let out a soft hum from my chest. She'd seen it too. I raised an eyebrow at her, mouthing showtime, then swiped to answer, hitting speakerphone. Yo, Liam, what's up, man? Marcus's trademark booming voice, enthusiastic enough to burst through the receiver, filled the air. Just about to start dinner, I replied, keeping my tone even. Dude, you're a regular saint. Not like me. Just got back from schmoozing clients. Totally beat. He started with self-deprecation, then immediately pivoted. Hey, hope I'm not interrupting anything with you and Annalise. I've got huge news. I glanced at Annalise. She was tracing circles on my chest with her finger, a sly, knowing smile playing on her lips. Spit out. Just closed this sweet little deal. Gotta celebrate tonight. My treat. Usual spot. You gotta be there. Man, don't leave me hanging. Marcus's voice was full of that non-negotiable bro code energy. Before I could answer, he added the kicker, his real agenda. Oh, and bring Annalise, will ya? Haven't seen her in ages. Seriously, bro, I'm so jealous you landed a girlfriend as gorgeous and classy as her. Have her come. Dear boy is solid. Listen to him, smooth as silk. First, brag about his deal, then guilt-trip me with our friendship, and finally, the real goal, get Annalise out, buttering her up in the process to show what a smooth talker he was. A flawless combo. I smirked. All right, what time? 7:30. Don't be late. Bro, later. Annalise. Marcus hung up, practically vibrating with excitement, as if he had just scored a major victory. The call ended, and silence returned to the room. Annalise lifted her head from my chest. Those eyes, usually so coolly sharp in public, were now sparkling with amusement. She poked my chest with a slender finger. Liam Davies, she began slowly. Your best buddy is putting on quite the performance again. I squeezed her cheek, answering with a shrug. What else is new? He practically hand-delivered tickets. We can't miss this show. Half an hour later, we were at the Gilded Steakhouse, Marcus's choice, decked out in an ostentatious gold-plated style that screamed new money tackiness. The prices were outrageous, the food mediocre at best. He loved taking people here, probably thought it made him look important. When Annalise and I arrived, Marcus was already in a private booth, an open bottle of red wine on the table. He was leaning back, legs crossed, scrolling through his phone with the air of a self-proclaimed mogul. He practically leaped to his feet when he saw us, his face plastered with an overly enthusiastic grin. Liam, Annalise, you made it. His gaze immediately latched onto Annalise, raking her up and down, making no attempt to hide his blatant admiration. Annalise, you look absolutely stunning tonight, like a goddess. My man Liam here must have an entire monastery praying for him to deserve you. Annalise was dressed casually in a simple white sundress, no makeup, but she just offered a faint smile, and that innate cool elegance of hers instantly outshone Marcus's flashy, probably fake, designer graphic tee. Let's sit, Annalise said calmly, taking my hand and guiding me to the booth. Marcus eagerly slid a menu across the table, not to me, but directly to Annalise. Annalise, you order, don't hold back, it's on me tonight, whatever you want. I pretended not to notice his little maneuver, pouring myself a glass of iced tea. Annalise didn't even glance at the menu. She just looked up at Marcus and asked, Liam mentioned you closed a big deal. Congratulations. Here we go, the main event. This was what Marcus had been waiting for. He cleared his throat, leaned forward slightly, adopting the posture of someone about to impart a great secret. Oh, it's nothing huge, he said, feigning modesty. though his smugness was practically oozing from him. Just a partnership with a Mr. Petrov, handling his company's social media marketing for the whole year. Not a massive account, just a few million in billings. As he spoke, he surreptitiously watched Annalise's expression, clearly expecting shock and awe. Then he casually added a jab aimed squarely at me. Honestly, you've got to get out there and hustle, Annalise. You're at a major firm like Apex Capital, you get what I'm talking about. Not like Liam here. He prefers the quiet life, tinkering with his art all day. Doesn't exactly rake in the big bucks. No offense, bro. I just think your talent's being wasted. I scoffed internally. In one breath, he'd boosted himself, tried to align himself with Annalise, take a swipe at me, and then feigned concern for my well-being. A masterclass in passive-aggressive BS. I picked up my tea, ready for the show. To my amusement, Annalise didn't show any of the admiration he expected. Instead, her brow furrowed slightly, as if she were genuinely considering his words. She tapped her finger lightly on the table. This Mr. Petrov you mentioned, what company is he with? Momentum Tech. They're pretty well known in the industry, Marcus answered immediately, anxious to ensure Annalise recognized the name. Oh, Momentum. Annalise nodded, her tone turning a little playful. That's interesting. The VP of Marketing at Momentum Tech. I believe her name is Kuznetsova, isn't it? I just had dinner with their chairman last month. She paused, watching Marcus's face instantly freeze, then delivered the final, delicate blow. As for Mr. Petrov, let me think. I believe the only Petrov they have on staff is in custodial services, old Vasily Petrov. So this multi-million-dollar project you negotiated, it with him? I almost choked on my tea, quickly covering it with a cough. Checkmate. Marcus's face, in a visible and rapid progression, went from flushed red to a sickly green, then to a ghastly white. His mouth opened and closed, his Adam's apple bobbing, but no words came out. Maybe I got it wrong, he stammered, his eyes darting around, a sheen of sweat already beading on his forehead. I stepped in at the right moment to smooth things over, patting his shoulder with a look of mock concern. Marcus, buddy, you sure you didn't have a few too many with those clients? It's easy to get things mixed up. Here, don't just talk, eat something. Look at you. You're pale as a ghost. As I spoke, I piled a large helping of celery, his most hated vegetable, onto his plate. Marcus stared at the celery, his expression more pain than if he'd actually eaten dirt, but he could only manage a smile uglier than a grimace. Yeah, too much to drink, too much. For the rest of the meal, he was completely deflated, not daring to utter another word about his grand ambitions. On the way home, Annalise leaned back in the passenger seat, asking, So, darling, how was that for an appetizer tonight? I kept my eyes on the road, a smile playing on my lips. Passable, just wondering when he plans to serve up the main course. Marcus laid low for a few days after that dinner. I figured he'd gone home that night and frantically Googled Momentum Tech's entire leadership team, only to discover Annalise had popped his bloated ego with a single pinprick. This afternoon, I just finished a concept sketch and was stretching when my phone rang again. It was Marcus. This time, the usual boisterousness was gone from his voice, replaced by a cautious, almost fawning tone. Hey, Liam, you busy? Not really, what's up? Bro, I wanted to apologize for the other night at dinner. I was seriously wasted, talking out my ass. Hope you and Annalise didn't take it to heart. I smirked. So the little twerp finally learned some fear? No, not fear. He was paving the way for his next request. Sure enough, his tone shifted. Bro, you home? I need to talk to you about something in person, super important. I'm here. Great, I'll be right over. He hung up faster than anyone I knew. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Marcus standing there, clutching a USB drive in his hand, his face stretched into an almost sycophantic grin I'd never seen on him before. He'd changed clothes, looking like he'd dug out the most expensive outfit in his closet. His hair was slicked back with gel, gleaming under the porch light. Liam. He tried to hand me a fancy-looking vape pen as he walked in, but I waved it off. He didn't seem fazed, taking a drag himself, then solemnly placed the USB drive on the coffee table. Bro, this is my masterpiece. I raised an eyebrow. What is it? A project proposal. Marcus's eyes lit up with a renewed fervor. An app that will revolutionize social interaction. I guarantee, With the right investment, we're looking at an IPO within 3 years. I almost burst out laughing. Him? Change the future? He couldn't even get the name of a Momentum Tech VP right. I stayed silent, waiting for him to continue his performance. Seeing my lack of reaction, Marcus got anxious. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. Bro, I know Annalise is the CEO of Apex Capital. A firm like that, countless people are dying to get a foot in the door. I don't have any other connections. You're my only shot. Man, my best friend. He dramatically slid the USB drive towards me. Liam, you're like a brother to me. You have to help me this time. Just put a good word with Annalise. Give me 10 minutes with her. No, 5. Just 5 minutes to pitch this project. If she invests, I'll give you 10% equity in the company, no strings attached. There was the other shoe, finally dropped. So this was his endgame. Did he really think Annalise was some gullible rich woman who'd be fooled by his half-baked PowerPoint? And now he was trying to entice me with empty promises. I frowned, feigning difficulty. Marcus, that's a tough ask. I never interfere with her work stuff. That's our rule. Business is business. Personal is personal. Bro, rules are meant to be broken. Marcus practically collapsed onto the floor, launching into a sob story. This is my one chance. Are you really going to watch your buddy flounder in mediocrity for the rest of his life? We were dorm mates. Man, we go way back. Watching his pathetic display, I found it utterly ridiculous. I mulled over it for a long moment. Then just as he was about to lose hope, I let out a slow sigh. All right, look, I can only say I'll ask her. No guarantees, okay? Yes. Thanks, bro, you're the best. Marcus was instantly re-energized, grabbing my hand excitedly. I'll be waiting for your good news. After seeing Marcus out, I held the USB drive, tossing it in my hand like it was something contaminated. When Annalise got home that evening, I recounted the day's events to her like a joke. After listening, she took the USB drive from me, a captivating smile gracing her lips, her eyes glittering with the predatory excitement of a hunter spotting its prey. Interesting. She plugged the drive into her personal laptop and casually clicked open the file named Final End of Ultimate Game Changer Rap.ppt. She only skimmed 2 slides before letting out a soft chuckle. Full of holes, logically flawed data, entirely plagiarized from online sources, and several of those are cited incorrectly. She delivered her verdict, then looked at me, her eyes full of mischief. So, darling, how do you want to play this? I leaned in close, whispering in her ear. Obviously, we let him finish his little song and dance. Annalise nodded, satisfied. She picked up her phone, dialed her executive assistant, and put on speaker. Anya, clear 15 minutes for me next Wednesday at 3 p.m. A Mr. Marcus Schmidt will be coming in for a project presentation. Please arrange it. Yes, Ms. Petrova, came the crisp, efficient reply from the other end. Hanging up, Annalise winked at me like a cat that had successfully swiped the cream. Tell your best buddy Miss Petrova will see him. Now the prey, she added, has walked right into the trap. When I delivered the good news to Marcus, there was a full 5 seconds of stunned silence on his end, then an explosion of ecstatic shouts. Holy crap, bro, are you serious? Annalise really wants to see me? Next Wednesday, 3 p.m., Apex Capital, 32nd floor. Her assistant will meet you, I stated succinctly. Yes. Thank you, Liam. You're a lifesaver. When my company goes public, I'm buying you a Ferrari. Marcus was babbling incoherently, his promises escalating from equity to supercars. I didn't bother listening to his nonsense and hung up. For the next week, Marcus completely vanished from my radar. I figured he was holed up somewhere, pulling all-nighters to revise his game-changing app presentation, preparing for his moment in the spotlight. On Wednesday afternoon, I was chilling at home when a message from Annalise popped up on my phone. It was a photo. The background was Apex Capital's famous top-floor conference room, the one with panoramic views of the entire downtown skyline. Marcus, in a brand-new suit with a slightly crooked tie, was sitting ramrod straight at one end of a massive conference table. His expression was a mixture of nervousness and excitement, like a kid who'd wandered into an adult's high-stakes poker game. Below the photo, Annalise had typed, "Prey in position." I sent back a cat watching a show gif. Have fun with it. About 20 minutes later, another message from Annalise. He's done. I almost died trying not to laugh. I could picture it, Marcus spewing nonsense about his flawed project while Annalise sat at the head of the table, poker-faced, internally rolling her eyes into another dimension. I replied, "So what's the verdict, almighty Ms. Petrova? How many billions are you investing?" Annalise sent back an eye-roll emoji. Told him the concept has potential, but the business model is unclear. He needs to go back and prepare a more detailed operational plan. Come back next week. I laughed out loud. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Rejecting him outright would have been too easy. This way, she'd give him a sliver of hope, then burden him with a mountain of impossible demands, yanking his chain like a dog on a leash, far more psychologically devastating than a swift execution. Sure enough, that evening Marcus called me, his voice brimming with the euphoria of someone who'd narrowly escaped disaster. "Bro, it happened. Annalise said my idea is fantastic." "Oh yeah? So did she invest?" I asked, feigning ignorance. Well, not yet." Marcus's excitement dipped slightly. "Annalise said my business model needs more clarity, wants me to flesh out the plan." "Bro, you get it, right? This is a test. This is how top-tier investors vet you." His ability to delude himself was truly unparalleled. "And she said we'll schedule another meeting next week. That means she's really interested in me." I made a couple of non-committal aha sounds. "That's great. Keep at it, bro. There's something else I wanted to ask your opinion on." Marcus's tone suddenly turned uncomfortably suggestive. "You think Annalise might be, into me?" I nearly crushed my phone. "What do you mean?" My voice turned icy. "Well, think about it. A big-shot CEO like her, willing to meet with a nobody like me, and patiently guiding me. Isn't it obvious?" Marcus's voice was filled with delusion. "Bro, don't get me wrong, but I think you and Annalise, you're maybe not from the same world. She needs a partner who can stand shoulder to shoulder with her in business, not just an artist who paints at home." Finally, he said the quiet part out loud. So after all this song and dance, his ultimate goal was to win both the girl and the money. I was so angry I almost laughed. "And bro, I think you should get back to your presentation." I cut him off sharply. "Annalise despises people who lack follow-through. If you don't bring her something satisfactory next week, forget about an investment. She won't even let you through the front door of Apex Capital again." I doused him with a bucket of cold reality. Without hesitation, Marcus was clearly taken aback on the other end. After a few seconds, he mumbled dejectedly, "Got it, bro. I'll get right on it." Hanging up, the smile vanished from my face instantly. I relayed Marcus's exact words to Annalise verbatim. Annalise replied with just 3 words, "Accelerate, close net." I knew what she meant. The game was about to end, and Marcus, still lost in his dream of hitting the jackpot both romantically and financially, was blissfully unaware that a custom-made net was silently closing in on him. For the next week, Marcus went into full-blown manic mode. He was posting hustle-porn motivational quotes on his Instagram feed at 3 or 4 in the morning, complete with pictures of his laptop screen filled with dense spreadsheets. His location always tagged at some 24-hour coffee shop. He'd also text me occasionally, trying to subtly pry information about Annalise's preferences. "Bro, what color flowers does Annalise like?" "Liam, what brand of perfume does she usually wear?" "Dude, for my next meeting with Annalise, should I go with the blue suit or the gray one to look more sophisticated?" My replies were consistently no idea, and wear whatever. Meanwhile, Annalise had everything arranged. On Friday, Apex Capital was hosting its annual Strategic Outlook Conference. All their partners, prominent business figures, and major media outlets would be there. It was Apex Capital's most important event of the year. Thursday night, Marcus sent me his magnum opus, a PowerPoint presentation over 100 slides long. I glanced at it, still garbage. Moments later, Annalise called. I put her on speaker. "Hey, darling, yeah, I'm here. Could you please inform Mr. Marcus Schmidt," Annalise's voice was crisp and professional, "that I've reviewed his new proposal, and it shows significant depth. Tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock, at our company's annual conference venue, I'll have a surprise for him." I could practically hear the mischievous smile in her voice. Suppressing my own laughter, I replied, "Okay, I'll tell him." After hanging up, I relayed this fantastic news to Marcus. On the other end of the line, Marcus's breath hitched. The conference, bro? Are you saying Annalise is going to announce my project at the conference?" His voice trembled. "I don't know. She just said there's a surprise." It has to be, it has to be. Marcus was already lost in a euphoric delusion. She's going to announce her investment in me in front of everyone. Announce that I, Marcus Schmidt, am the man she's chosen. Listening to his unhinged laughter, I silently hung up. Poor Butt. He'd go to his grave without ever knowing what hit him. The next evening, dressed in smart casuals, I arrived at the conference venue with Annalise. As family, I was seated in an inconspicuous corner. Marcus, however, armed with the VIP invitation Annalise's assistant had provided, was seated in the front row, closest to the stage. He'd clearly gone all out today. A brand new Armani suit, hair slicked back to a blinding sheen, shoes polished to a mirror finish, and a flashy, obviously fake, watch on his wrist. He was acting like he owned the place, nodding at people around him, though no one recognized him. Soon, he spotted me. He sauntered over, champagne flute in hand, looking down his nose at me. "Liam, you came too?" His tone dripped with condescension and a hint of pity. "Yep," I nodded. "Sigh, this kind of event, probably not your scene, huh?" He sighed dramatically, patting my shoulder. "It's all big-shot business types talking about our kind of mundane, worldly stuff. Don't worry, just sit here, enjoy the spectacle." He paused, lowered his voice, and adopted the stance of a victor. "Later, Annalise will announce my thing on stage. Bro, don't worry, when I make it big, I won't forget you. I'll set you up with a cushy job at my company, say, starting at $500,000 a year, enough for you to paint for a lifetime." I looked at his face, slightly contorted by excessive excitement, and smiled. "Great, thanks in advance, Marcus." He puffed out his chest, looking supremely satisfied, and returned to his VIP seat, ready to embrace the pinnacle of his life. 7 p.m. sharp, the lights dimmed, and the conference officially began. Annalise, stunning in an elegant silver gown, gracefully walked onto the stage under the spotlight. In that moment, she was the undisputed queen of the entire room. She calmly and confidently presented the company's stellar performance over the past year and its strategic plans for the future. The applause was thunderous. I saw Marcus in the audience, nervously adjusting his tie, fidgeting, his eyes glued to Annalise on stage, filled with anticipation. Finally, the standard agenda items were complete. Annalise changed tack, a smile playing on her lips. "Today, in addition to our regular announcements, I also want to formally introduce a future key partner for Apex Capital. He is also the true visionary behind our upcoming multi-billion-dollar gaming project, Ethelgard." This was it. Marcus's posture instantly straightened, his face flushed. He even half rose from his seat, ready to stand and accept the crowd's adulation at any moment. The surrounding media photographers also raised their cameras, focusing on the stage. Annalise's gaze slowly swept across the entire auditorium. Then her eyes passed over the excitedly trembling Marcus in the front row and landed precisely on my corner. Her expression instantly softened from queenly sharpness to a tender, knowing look. On the large screen, the presentation slide changed. It wasn't Marcus's Game Changer app. It was a profile shot of me working on my drawing tablet. Next to the photo, in large, bold letters, Artist Zero. Annalise raised the microphone, her voice carrying clearly throughout the venue. "He is the industry's most enigmatic concept artist, Zero, and he is also the lead designer for the Ethelgard project." The entire room erupted in thunderous applause and gasps of astonishment. The name, Zero, carried far more weight in the gaming and art worlds than any so-called startup wunderkind. As Marcus stared dumbfounded, Annalise's voice, now laced with a sweet smile, rang out again. "And he also has another identity." Her gaze remained locked on me as she enunciated each word clearly. "My partner, Liam Davies." When the words "my partner, Liam Davies" echoed through the venue via the microphone, time seemed to freeze. Every spotlight swiveled in unison away from the stage and onto my secluded corner. Hundreds of pairs of eyes, filled with shock, confusion, and curiosity, fixed on me. The investors sitting near me, who had barely given a second glance to the casually dressed nobody moments before, now had their jaws practically on the floor, staring at me as if I were an alien. In the front row, Marcus was utterly petrified. His half-risen posture was frozen midair, the elation and smugness on his face solidifying into an incredibly comical expression. His mouth hung slightly open, eyes wide as saucers, staring blankly at my photo on the big screen, then swiveling his head in disbelief towards me. Under the intense scrutiny of the entire room, I managed a wry smile, stood up, and gave a small wave to Annalise on stage. Annalise returned a gentle smile. Our silent exchange spoke volumes, shattering all far-fetched fantasies in an instant. Holy crap, he's Zero. Oh my God, Zero is Annalise Petrova's boyfriend. No wonder Apex Capital landed the Ethelgard project. They had the inside track all along. These two are so low-key. Talk about a power couple. A wave of murmurs rippled through the auditorium, but Annalise wasn't finished. Her gaze shifted from me, and for the first and last time, settled on the pale-faced Marcus in the front row. Her tone reverted to the cool, sharp incisiveness of the business queen. Of course, Apex Capital always maintains an open-door policy, welcoming all talented entrepreneurs. For instance, Mr. Marcus Schmidt, seated in the front row. Startled by the sudden mention of his name, Marcus jolted as if he'd been shocked, a flicker of desperate hope igniting in his eyes like a drowning man grasping at straws. The media cameras immediately swiveled towards him. Mr. Schmidt has indeed contacted us multiple times recently and submitted a business plan for a social media application, Annalise stated calmly, as if discussing a trivial matter. She paused, a glacial curve forming on her lips. However, after a thorough review by our company's legal department, Mr. Schmidt's proposal, its core concept and UI design, bear a resemblance of over 90% to a product launched last month by an overseas startup. Boom. The statement hit the room like a bombshell. Plagiarism in the investment world, where innovation is paramount, to be publicly accused of plagiarism by the CEO of Apex Capital at such a major event was a fate worse than a death sentence. The blood drained from Marcus's face, leaving it whiter than a sheet of paper. His lips trembled, trying to form words, but nothing came out. Annalise's voice continued, each word a heavy hammer blow to his already shattered confidence. Out of respect for intellectual property rights, we have already forwarded this assessment report along with Mr. Schmidt's original proposal to the legal department of that overseas team. I imagine they will be contacting Mr. Schmidt very soon. It was over. Completely and utterly over. This wasn't just a lost investment. It was public disgrace, professional ruin, and potentially an international lawsuit. Marcus could no longer hold himself together. His body went limp, and he slumped into his chair, his eyes vacant, as if his soul had been ripped out. The gazes of those around him had shifted from earlier curiosity to undisguised contempt and disdain. Well, that concludes my presentation. Annalise delivered her closing as if she'd just completed a minor task, offering an elegant bow to the audience. Thank you all. The auditorium once again erupted in thunderous applause. Amidst the clapping, two uniformed security guards approached Marcus and made a polite but firm "this way, sir" gesture. "Sir, we'll have to ask you to leave." Like a sack of wet cement, Marcus was half dragged, half escorted out of the venue. From beginning to end, he never looked at me again, or perhaps he no longer had the face to. At the celebratory reception after the conference, I was swarmed by a crowd of enthusiastic investors and game company executives. "Mr. Zero, such an honor. I've admired your work for years. Mr. Davies, I had no idea you were so young and accomplished in person. Mr. Davies, you and Ms. Petrova are truly a perfect match, a power couple." All the schmoozing and business speak was making my head spin. I finally managed to slip away and found refuge on the terrace, getting some fresh air. Not used to it. Annalise's voice came from behind me. She had kicked off her heels and was walking barefoot towards me, handed me a glass of juice. "Too much spotlight," I grumbled, taking a sip. "I just want to draw quietly, being nobody." Annalise leaned against me, resting her head on my shoulder, and chuckled softly. "Can't be helped. My man is too brilliant. There are always flies trying to take a bite. I have to hang a trespassing, aware of dog sign on our door every now and then." "You're the dog." I laughed, amused by her analogy. "No." She lifted her head, pecked me lightly on the lips, her eyes sparkling. "I'm the queen who protects you." Looking at the mischievous yet tender glint in her eyes, all my earlier annoyance evaporated. She was right. There'd always be clowns thinking their petty schemes and crooked tactics could get them things that weren't theirs. They didn't understand that real relationships and genuine success aren't built on manipulation. They're built on absolute trust and an evenly matched understanding, like Annalise and me. Our world didn't need explaining to anyone. I wrapped my arm around her waist, gazing at the glittering city lights in the distance, and said softly, "All right, Your Majesty. So next time one of these clueless flies shows up." Annalise finished my sentence, her voice full of amusement. "We swat them." "Affection and a matter-of-fact certainty," Annalise finished, her voice full of amusement. "I'll swat it for you."